From the Jack and Jones Shredder Studio in beautiful CCM at the University of Cincinnati, it's the Dennis Daniels Show! Tonight's guest, Distant Worlds concert conductor Arnie Roth. And now, here is your host. He is the first ever recipient of the Bearcast Radio Lifetime Achievement Award, Dennis Daniels! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, you have once again navigated yourself to BearcastRadio.com's hittest talk show segment, The Dennis Daniels Show. I am your host. I'm the guy that's always in a distant world. And the first ever recipient of the Bearcast Radio Lifetime Achievement Award, Dennis Daniels. See, I got tongue-tied there for a quick second. But anyway, folks, the road to Otakon continues and goes right through the Dennis Daniels Show for tonight. Exclusive interview, not going to see it anywhere else. You're not going to see it on KISS. You're not going to see it on WEBN. You're not going to see it at 92.5 FM The Fox or 96 Rock, which I was on, by the way. That's totally true. I'm not making it up. I had a poll, and I was awesome. I surely dominated Gamble and Finn. I'm kidding. I love you guys. But anyway, tonight on the Dennis Daniels Show, Distant Worlds concert conductor Arnie Roth. That's right, the one and only Arnie Roth. Now, for those who don't know who Arnie Roth is, he is a Grammy award-winning conductor. And let's be honest, without music, I wouldn't have a job here at Bearcast. Let's be honest, folks. But anyway, he conducts the popular Distant Worlds Final Fantasy concert. That's right, some guy decided that, hey, there's Final Fantasy, music kicks so much ass, that, hey, it's got to have a concert. And he is the ear behind it. And we're going to talk with him today on the show. Now, why are we interviewing Arnie Roth? Why should we care about Distant Worlds concert? Because Bearcast Radio was selected to go to Otakon and cover the Distant Worlds concert for the site. That's right. And who do you think they would send? Think they'd send John? No. Think they'd send Brandon Kisker? No. He likes hockey, not music. Think they'd send Stephanie Bowman? Nope. They send me. Because I am Dennis Daniel, and I get you hooked up with everything video game and anime. But that's right, folks. Otakon next Friday. I am super, super, super duper stoked. Because it's going to be a good thing going on. I mean, Otakon is, the end-all con. It's the biggest con of the year. On the East Coast, at least. I don't know about the West Coast. They have Anime Expo and Anime Next and ASIN and all those other fantastic cons. But we're covering Otakon. Do we have a press pass? No. Do we care? No. But I want to put on record, all you guests there, Johnny Bosch, watch yourself. Tony Oliver, watch yourself. Christina V, watch yourself. Because Dennis Daniel, he's going to be tearing up that con like no one's business. Maybe right now we should go ahead and get into our awesome interview. My guest today is a critically acclaimed Grammy Award-winning musician and conductor of the Chicagoland Pops Orchestra. He is also the current conductor for the Distant Worlds Final Fantasy concert, and we have him on the show today. So, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mr. Arnie Roth! Mr. Roth, thank you, and welcome to the Dennis Daniels Show.
Thank you very much, Dennis.
How are you doing today?
That's quite a welcome.
Well, I'm trying to tie it in, Sephiroth, Arnie Roth.
Yes, you know what? You won't be the first one. Nobu Uematsu himself actually started singing that with me live on concert on the stage. So Arnie Roth instead of Sephiroth. Yeah.
Arnie Roth? I don't know. I mean, do you know the supernova? Because I just saw that this week, and it's like it goes through all these different dimensions and blows up stuff, and it features the world's most difficult math test, and there should not be so much complexity in a Final Fantasy game. But then again, with the storylines and characters, you kind of get that.
Yeah, I know. But here's the beauty of Distant Worlds: we get to give you all the highlights, and you don't have to work so hard. You get to listen to all these fantastic... The piece you just played, of course, One Winged Angel, and Liberi Fatale, and on and on and on here. We have a couple of new pieces that we're premiering in Baltimore. You're covering Otakon, so you're talking about our Baltimore concert, I think.
You betcha.
And on that particular concert, we just started playing from Final Fantasy IX, a piece that I had conducted in Japan and a couple of other places, but hadn't brought to the U.S. yet for a while. And this is You're Not Alone. So we're playing that one. We'll play Don't Be Afraid from Final Fantasy VIII. We'll do a new arrangement that I did of Geneva from Final Fantasy VII, Xanarkand from 10. And, by the way, we're doing the opera from Final Fantasy VI, Maria and Draco.
So there's going to be an opera at the Final Fantasy concert?
Absolutely.
Arnie, I don't know who wouldn't want to go to that. And are tickets still available?
There are some tickets still available. They're going fast. But, yes, there's still tickets available for at the Meyerhoff Concert Hall in Baltimore, downtown Baltimore, with the Baltimore Symphony.
Well, Arnie, that's why they send me. That's why they pay me the fictitious $10 or experience-wise to go to these things, to report on them and just to say, because I've got friends who have seen video and DVDs and listened to the CDs. They say, Dennis, this concert it kicks so much ass. It's unbelievable. You got to go see it. You got to go cover for Bearcast. It's worthy of Bearcast covering. So I'm like, okay, get out of my house. I'll cover it.
So you'll be there. All right, cool.
You bet sweet baby I'll be there.
Do you have your ticket for the concert?
Gotta go pick up at Will Call.
Yeah, okay, because, of course, Uematsu is himself. The man himself will be there. And, by the way, if you're going to be at Otakon, because next week we're going to be performing in Vancouver on Wednesday, the 27th, and in Baltimore on Saturday, we're flying into Baltimore early enough to do an appearance at Otakon. So we'll actually be there on Friday, Uematsu and myself, doing a question and answer period with them and signing some autographs, that kind of thing. But
I believe that's Friday.
It's Friday, yeah.
Friday at Otakon. The festivities don't just kick off on Friday. You got the Otakon Matsuri Festival, where Einstein and anime voice actor Johnny Young Bosch are going to be performing. So,
great.
So you can go to the concert on Thursday, then come see Arnie Roth and Nobuo Uematsu and ask questions, get autographs.
Wait. Concert is on Saturday.
Concert's on Saturday. I know. You can see them, but you can see you and Nobuo
you mean
Uematsu
that concert? Yes,
Friday.
I see.
You can get questions answered, get
absolutely
autographs, get photos. I mean, you two go from the video game to a completely different realm with this. I mean, bringing Final Fantasy to an orchestra, and let alone going around the world and touring with it.
Yeah, the concept with Distant Worlds, I've worked with Square Enix and Uematsu prior to the Distant Worlds tour. We did a short series of concerts, a small tour called Dear Friends, back in 2007, was it? No, I'm sorry, 2005. 2005, where we played, I think, Atlanta, Chicago, Detroit, one or two other cities. I also did the More Friends Music from Final Fantasy concert in L.A., and that was with Uematsu's band, the Black Mages, playing on that concert as well, with orchestra. And then Square Enix invited me to Japan to conduct the Voices concert in Tokyo. And that was in 2006, I want to say. And last November, we were able to bring Distant Worlds to Japan as well. But the concept with Distant Worlds is that we're bringing, just as you said, the music of Final Fantasy, not just to specifically Asia or Japan and North America, but all over the world. We have played Singapore, we played Seoul, we played Taiwan, we played two concerts in Sydney at the Sydney Opera House. And we will be at Royal Albert Hall in London on November 5th, and that's sold out already. So, I mean, there's a lot of areas of the world. We're working on Mexico City. We're working on South America. And, of course, you know, we've been through North America several times, several different locations. This is our second performance with the Baltimore Symphony. So we're thrilled to be back there. And really, this is about the Final Fantasy fans supporting us. If they weren't supporting us, the tour would have ended already. So, you know, my hat goes off to them. They really want to hear this music. So that's the key here.
Well, if you're going around the world to all these famous landmarks, you know, have you all played Carnegie Hall yet?
No, we played Brooklyn Academy of Music in New York this year, as a matter of fact. It was April, I think, April 1st and 2nd.
You all got to go to Carnegie Hall.
Yeah, I suppose that's maybe one of the next stops, right?
Or just because it's so big, Madison Square Garden.
Okay, let's see, that's about 12,000, 15,000 people. I will tell you that in Tokyo, we did 2 nights at a 5,000-seat venue, and it sold out in 48 hours. So it's certainly possible in some cities to do that. And the way that London sold out that quickly, we may be able to come back and do something even bigger. But Royal Albert Hall is going to be a lot of fun because we have the big pipe organ there, and we're going to do Dancing Mad.
I do think that Distant Worlds should be at Madison Square Garden. I mean, if they can sell that out for WrestleMania, I'm pretty sure that Distant World would dominate it as well.
Okay, how's this? We should do something special for the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy.
Yes.
And that is December of 2012. So I'll put in a bid for Madison Square Garden, December of 2012. I don't know if it'll happen, but why not?
It should. It should happen. Now, what got you interested in music?
Well, that's kind of a long story, but actually it's not. It's a very simple thing. The real early reason, maybe when I was 8 or 9 years old, I think I heard some neighbor playing the violin, and I said, that sounds cool, and I just decided to pick up the violin and start learning it. So I really was a professional violinist for many, many, many years prior to moving almost exclusively into conducting, writing, and producing. So violin was the gateway, the first way, and I played all over the country. As a matter of fact, a member of Mannheim Steamroller, which I'm still associated with.
Yeah, Mannheim Steamroller. You know, I'm reading here that the group has sold over 28 million albums in the U.S. alone.
Yeah, that's a pretty phenomenal thing, Mannheim Steamroller. But we continue to work. I'm producing a record right now with Chip Davis and Mannheim Steamroller for release this fourth quarter. But I'm very, very excited about the Final Fantasy stuff because we've already released 2 records and 1 DVD with Distant Worlds, and we're right now working on Distant Worlds 3 to figure out all the repertoire we can put on that. The Final Fantasy library is so huge. It goes on, as you know, for 25 years. We can't possibly cover all the music that was written for this thing. So, but we're attempting. We're putting all the hits together and doing orchestra arrangements where they didn't exist. In some cases, they existed already.
Every game they release brand new music. I mean, Nobuo Uematsu, he must be a money-making machine because the more he's cranking out more music, we're buying the albums.
You know, I will say, they just brought him back for the newest version, which is Final Fantasy XIV. They've had some technical issues with that release, but just a tip here, the music from Final Fantasy XIV that Uematsu has written is some of his very best stuff, in my opinion. Having conducted a lot of music from Nobuo Uematsu, this music is really going to be something special for many years to come. So hopefully they get the technical bugs worked out and they get this released on PlayStation very soon now.
Oh, it'll be a clash of music epicness, the which we've never seen, I tell you what.
Okay.
Now, do you have any kind of proper education in music?
I think so, actually. I have a bachelor's and a master's from Northwestern in music performance, so yes.
All right. What inspired you to be a symphonic conductor?
Well, that probably started with all the work that I did as a violinist. Playing in a lot of orchestras, leading a lot of orchestras as concertmaster, and putting musicians together for a lot of recording sessions and international concert tours. And eventually, a lot of the artists that I was working with were asking me to write arrangements and to conduct those arrangements. And I started really getting into conducting these things, and now I seem to be doing mostly that. I have no regrets about it, and I still do occasionally play the violin. As a matter of fact, I'm playing next week in Vancouver, I'm playing a solo with Nobu Uematsu, a duet. We're doing a piece from Final Fantasy VI that I wrote an arrangement for called Dark World. Really beautiful, kind of haunting piece, and it's a pretty obvious one that Uematsu and I can play. He's playing organ and a second keyboard doing sound effects, and I'm playing violin on it. So I'm conducting and playing violin at the same time with that.
All right. Well, so for my audience who doesn't know, what goes into being a conductor, or what does it take for those who might want to pursue a career in being a conductor?
Well, right now, in this world that we live in, especially in the United States, our government doesn't seem to want to prioritize music education.
Boo!
Yeah, I agree. But the big problem with that is that orchestras are really hurting right now. So their traditional classical audience that are coming to subscription concerts of Beethoven, Brahms, Stravinsky, whatever, are dying away, unfortunately. And so orchestras are struggling to bring in new young audiences. And this is one way that they can do that with Final Fantasy, because our demographics tell us that about 60% of our fans, of our audience, are between the ages of 18 and 35. And so here they come into Meyerhoff in Baltimore or Symphony Center here in Chicago, and we have sold-out shows. And many are people that wouldn't normally be going to symphony concerts, so it's the job of these orchestras to try to capture them. But back to your question about what's involved in trying to be a conductor. It's a difficult time right now for that. That was really what I was trying to point out. People are going through school. They're doing their conservatory training to learn the actual physical technique but what we call baton or stick technique. How do I conduct various beat patterns that composers write in their music? How do I show that to musicians in orchestras and big bands and ensembles? So you have to study the physics, literally, physically, standing in front of a mirror and beating out beat patterns consistently. Practice that, and then practice the transitions, because they're very difficult sometimes to clearly articulate physically for an orchestra with your hands what they should be doing. I'll give you an example of Final Fantasy. Last Saturday night, I conducted the Houston Symphony with Distant Worlds, and we played Dancing Mad. And there's a section in Dancing Mad, the Tier 4 music, that is unbelievably difficult for both the musicians and the conductor. Uematsu, I don't know what got into him, but he wrote music that's in 7/8, 11/8, 12/16. These are time signatures. And those beat patterns are very difficult to show an orchestra in a fast tempo, let alone have them play the right notes on the right beats. So it happens in all music, not just classical. It happens in some of these video game music scores, and not just by Uematsu, by a lot of the other video game composers that I've worked with as well. World of Warcraft, Halo, Super Mario Brothers, you name it, Zelda. So in terms of being a conductor, one needs to have excellent ear training skills. In other words, that you're able to hear the music clearly, all the little lines. These are, sometimes 100 musicians on stage. You need to be able to hear what the second clarinet and the second stand of violas is playing and what the third French horn is playing, and be able to pick that out while all 100 musicians are performing. So there's ear training involved. There's stick technique or baton technique. In other words, your ability to lead the orchestra and show them these difficult meters and music passages. And then there's after all of that, after all that technical, one has to make some music as well. And by that I mean one has to shape phrases and articulate dynamics and the way that notes should be performed, short and long and accented And it's my job as conductor to try to teach a lot of this music, which many of these musicians have never heard, video game music scores, so they don't intrinsically know how it should be played. I have to kind of shape the music for them and do a very quick learning curve for them. So there's all of this stuff. There's teaching, there's ear training, there's the visual aspect of directing the music. And then there's balancing the chorus and orchestra and soloists live on the stage so that it's in the correct balance for the audience as well.
So it's more than just waving a long, pointy stick.
I think so. I think it's a little more complex than that. But, ultimately we have a joke about that. Ultimately I'm waving a stick in the air, right? And it's the orchestra that's making all the noise. So,
or you're making the magic that comes
true.
From the orchestra.
I'm waving that baton. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, again, I've got some background in music. I play trumpet, and I've been part of an orchestra once, so I understand. It can't be easy. I mean, playing all these, all these long and complex and diluted songs, and the conductor has the important part. He's got to make sure he or she. We're not biased. Yeah. He's got to make sure that I said he again. They got to make sure that it sounds balanced, or else it's going to sound like a duck.
Well, right. No, you're right. I mean, it's our job to kind of put all these elements together, and depending on how good the orchestra is, sometimes that's a very easy process, and sometimes you need weeks and weeks, to teach this and put it together. And again, the additional problem is that you're not conducting music, let's say, a traditional repertoire that orchestras know, like Brahms and Beethoven and Debussy. You're conducting scores that they have never put their eyes on before. So there's a lot of teaching that goes on with that. So that's part of the additional issue with the music of Final Fantasy. But I must say, having conducted it all over the world, orchestras are embracing it. They understand how good these scores are. They're beautifully written. And that the orchestra themselves, the orchestra is the star of these concerts. Yes, we're going to bring Uematsu up on stage. Yes, Arnie Roth's going to be there conducting and talking them through the concert as well. But really, I think all the Final Fantasy fans understand that the orchestra really is the star. They're bringing to life all these scores that a lot of these video game fans have lived with for years and years and years and spent thousands of hours with. So it's very exciting at these concerts. We have great fans.
Well, I understand that the orchestra is the star, but you're the airplane guider that drags us through that helps us get us through this flight of Final Fantasy. If there was no conductor, we would have nothing. There'd be chaos and discord. There'd be nothing. So we want to focus that the conductor has a very, 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 very important role in this. So.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. You're right. I think that I'm actually honored that Nobuo Uematsu is entrusting me with this. With his babies, as we say.
Now, aside from doing all the Final Fantasy stuff, you're also a conductor for the Barbie movies. You
right.
won the Best Score Award at the 2003 DVD Premiere Awards for your soundtrack for Barbie as Rapunzel, and you were nominated for an Emmy Award in 2007 for your original song Shine from Barbie and the 12 Dancing Princesses. And I'm seeing this on Wikipedia. I don't know this by heart.
That's all right. Yeah, actually we did 10 years of movies with Mattel that I produced and wrote. Just to recap what that is, Mattel approached me because they had learned of my background working with both ballet companies and opera companies, and as well as multimedia, and they wanted to, for the very young listener, they wanted to do movies that didn't have your kind of normal kind of entry-level synthesizer music that a lot of kids' products are stuck with, unfortunately. They wanted to really have full orchestras and reference a lot of classic composers as well. So the very first movie that we did was Barbie and the Nutcracker, and it was based on the Tchaikovsky ballet score. And we did other ones, Barbie of Swan Lake, Barbie as Rapunzel, but again, using Dvorak, Brahms, Beethoven, percussion. I mean, any number of things. There's a lot of original Arnie Roth music in there as well, but I'm actually very happy about those movies because I think that we created a lot of new listeners of orchestra and orchestra repertoire and music. And all these 5-year-old girls know who I am. It's amazing.
You're taking Barbie, a quintessential icon among young girls, and you're introducing her to the realm of classical music. I mean, it's kind of like edutainment in a sense.
Yes, and it was designed that way. I mean, you're absolutely right. And actually, in this case, Barbie ends up being the protagonist in these stories. They're telling a classic story, and there's a classic music score to go along with this. But the point is that maybe we're building, whether we're building new musicians or we're building new audience, that's equally important, because we started off a little while ago bemoaning the fact that our government is not supporting the arts. You know, people have elected officials to try to cut back on spending in education. So right now, you've got generations of young kids growing up that have no clue what is a violin, what's an oboe, what's Beethoven. This is one way that they might get exposed to that, since they're not getting that exposure in the public school system.
I mean, SpongeBob can only teach you so much, Arnie.
Right, exactly.
Now, you also said that you're part of Mannheim Steamroller, and like I said, they've sold over 28 million albums in the U.S. alone. What do you attribute to the group's success?
Wow, I think that's kind of fairy tale stuff. It was the short. I'll try to make it a short answer with the history of the group. I mean, it was around prior to 1984. It was formed back in the 1970s by Chip Davis, and prior to 1984, there was a little core of fans that was building up. But then in 1984, he had this brilliant idea to do kind of an alternative Christmas release. And the idea was that back then, if you remember, you probably don't, you're probably too young, but if you remember, there was this style of music called New Age, okay? And New Age back then was much more like what the original New Age music was. Things like Tangerine Dream and Mannheim Steamroller were kind of the grandparents of New Age music. Instrumental pieces that were really out there for what was going on back then. And so all of a sudden he decided in 1984, let's try releasing an album of Christmas music, but done in a Mannheim Steamroller New Age style. And it was that record, the 1984 record, that absolutely blew it apart and ended up selling 3 million units that first year. Then we did the 1988 record. That sold another 3 or 4 million units. And it's gone on from there, where every one of the Christmas ones have just completely exploded. And I think it was more about that, a new way to look and a new style musically to look at these traditional pieces. So probably more about that, about a new language and new style than anything else. People wanted something new at that time of the year, and this worked out to be very fortuitous, exactly what they were looking for.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia on Mannheim Steamroller, and I see that 8 of your 11 albums have gone platinum.
Yeah.
I mean, and some, like Mannheim Steamroller, your 1984 one went platinum 6 times.
Yeah, so there you go, 6 million units of the 84 record. 88 is probably very close to that as well.
I'm looking 6-time platinum for 84, 6-time for 88, yeah. 95 went 4 times.
Yeah.
2001 went 3 times. I mean, clearly you guys are doing something right, or otherwise it would not sell like this.
Especially these days. I mean, who's buying CDs these days? It's much more digital download. But the Mannheim Steamroller crowd is definitely a CD buying crowd. And by the way, you're talking about Final Fantasy. These fans have been incredibly loyal to buying the Distant World CDs, the actual physical CDs. We sell lots of downloads as well, but the CDs have done very well.
Maybe there should be a Mannheim Steamroller Final Fantasy crossover. Bring two generations!
I think you're talking to them right now, right?
I'd be smack right in the middle. You know, we get Christmas music, we got Final Fantasy music, we get Final Fantasy Christmas music. Smash them together. That would just be like peanut butter and jelly in the same jar. That'd be amazing.
That's an idea. I'll bring it up with all the powers that be.
Now, we're broadcasting from the College Conservatory of Music at the University of Cincinnati, and we have a lot of music majors, vocal majors, drama majors, theater majors. Do you have any advice about those who do want to pursue a career in music, being that you've had all these lifetimes of experience, that maybe those who want to get into the field, do you have any advice for them?
Well, probably the best that I could offer would be, as difficult a time as this is right now, economically and with the arts, it only means that their competition out there is going to be even tougher, more brutal, which means that while they're in school, while they have the chance to practice and hone their craft, they really, really better take advantage of that, because once they get out of school and they're dumped into the real world and have to somehow carve out a career fighting against all these other graduates and everyone else looking for jobs, their skills better be at the very top level at that point. So I don't think it's a time. It used to be a situation years ago where you could graduate from school and then you might still have 3 to 5 years of playing in a lower-level orchestra or some other performance situation where you were gaining experience. Now, I think people have to come out of school ready to go. I mean, only because the competition is so brutal, so tough right now. So, it may sound like nothing, no kind of revelation at all. But of course, I could simply say practice, practice, practice. But the point is, this is your time to really hone the technique and skill that you're going to need once you get out there performing. So do as much of it as you can while you're in school. Get as much of it done while that part is covered, and you don't have to actually be fighting around paying bills.
And trust me, I hear the long way. I want to go into radio, but of course, the radio industry, they're taking a nasty hit, and
it's the same thing. Yeah,
it's like you got to compete. And I'll tell you this: I don't like to get my personal life entwined with my show, but I have this music teacher, Richard Mr. B. Brown. We call him Richard Brown and Mr. B because that's what he wants to call him. But I tell you what, he's been playing since the 40s, since he was a kid, back in the 40s, and he's about 70, 80, and he's told me stories about, how it's a mean world out there. Musicians can come a dime a dozen. But the thing is that those who take it to heart, they'll show passion in their music. Anyone can give you Beethoven or Bach, but maybe you have to show the passion, because if you don't have passion, what's the point of playing?
Yeah, no, I think that's really valid. Actually, what sets you apart from all the other hordes of people that are graduating and going into the workplace? What do you do that makes you more worthy of getting into these? Can I give you an example? I mean, when there's a violin opening in the Chicago Symphony, 400 people want to audition for this one violin opening. And out of those 400 people, maybe only 3 to 5 of them make it to the final round of the auditions. So that's just to give you an example of that. I mean, if you're a tuba player or an oboe player, those openings in orchestras are maybe, there's only 2 oboe players in every orchestra, only 1 tuba player in every orchestra. They get in, they keep that job for life. So the prospects aren't great unless you're absolutely an incredible performer. I mean, you really have to be at the very top. So I think people need to know that and need to get into this with their eyes open, not thinking, well, I'll bide my time during school and I have plenty of time afterwards. It just won't be easier after school.
Do you also think that the recession as of late may also be another reason why, music is hurting? No question. Absolutely. It's a major reason. There's less performance opportunities. When there's an economic recession, their presenters of concerts are less willing to take risks that they normally had taken with selling concerts. So there's less opportunity. There's less hiring of musicians and orchestras for concerts. And orchestras themselves, full-time orchestras, are going out of business. You may have read that the Philadelphia Orchestra, one of the oldest in the United States, declared bankruptcy
this year. Syracuse Symphony went bankrupt and ceased operations. There's lots of this going around, including ballet companies and opera companies. So, again, I don't want to pin it on any one thing, but when the government decides that they're not going to be supporting the arts in any way financially, and it's only dependent on profit margins of corporations when times are good. When times are bad, there's no profit margins, the donations fall away, the arts organizations drop off the map. So this definitely is an offshoot of the economic recession. So,
I mean, look at NPR. They're hurting too. They've lost. They're losing sponsoring, and I guess that what that one person said didn't really help either.
Right, but again, it's a lot of it has to do. Here in the United States, we seem to have elected a lot of officials that believe that this is extra. In other words, art and culture, and by the way, they lump physical education and other things into that same bin. They think this is all extra. We shouldn't spend our money and our resources paying our young kids, educating our young kids in those areas.
Great. So not only will we not have music, we'll all be fat little blobs sitting around the television.
Right, and we're not growing any new audience either, right? And this affects us for generations to come, okay? So, it's not just a one-year decision with whoever's in power in the government. It's generations of kids that are growing up with no exposure.
Yeah, and then the next thing you know, they're going to be doing drugs and shooting each other with guns.
Come on, let's not paint it so bad.
And it's going to be the collapse of society. All right. Because we can't afford to listen to Beethoven.
And Final Fantasy.
I see it now. Final Fantasy, we're going to be having 3-on-3 battles where they do summon animals and they use magic, and every time they kill someone, we get that.
Absolutely. That's the victory theme, and we play it live on stage as well. Proudly.
We should go to... Hey, we're only an hour away from Washington, Arnie. Well, we're only an hour away from Baltimore and Washington. We should go to Congress, and when we do get the funding returned, we all play the victory theme, and then we pick up a Moogle or some kind of...
You know what? Yeah, send Chocobo or something. Right?
Yeah, we pick up one of those Keyblades. We're gonna... Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I should go tell those Congress people, Congress, you're no chance in hell. I'm sorry. Now, what is it like working with Nobuo Uematsu?
Oh, he's fantastic. He is a really humble guy. I think a lot of people aren't sure what he's going to be like in person, but I've found him to be extremely humble and sincere, and very happy that people appreciate all the music that he's written. I don't think he expects it. I think he's always delighted by it. And if you come to the concert in Baltimore, I know that you'll also be delighted to see him. I generally get him up on stage at least a couple of times, and we'll see what kind of tricks we can pull out of our bag of tricks to get him to do on stage with us.
Now, you're also the conductor of Play, a video game symphony. Now, is there any difference between the video game symphony and the Distant Worlds concert?
Quite a bit. Distant Worlds is strictly the music of Final Fantasy, and it is on a very exclusive license with Square Enix, the parent company in Japan. We have in our agreement with Square Enix the ability to show all the high-definition video footage, and we suspend that on there's a screen suspended over the orchestra, and every piece that I'm performing with the orchestra and choir, we're showing video medleys of images from that sequence in the game. Play does not have that, and I was a founding music director and creator of Play, but I bowed out of that when we got Distant Worlds going, so I'm no longer conducting Play, just so you know. But Play... It was a lot of fun. It involved doing a lot of different video game scores, not just Final Fantasy. We did Zelda, Super Mario, World of Warcraft, Halo, Shenmue. I don't know. I could go on and on here. A lot of different a lot of different Elder Scrolls, Oblivion, things like that. And basically, it would play essentially a main theme from each one of these games. So if you attended play, you might hear 12 or 16 different main themes, but from very different games. The issue is that when you do that, you have a few fans from maybe each one of those games that are interested in hearing that. When we do Final Fantasy, Distant Worlds, this is a huge house, right? All of Meyerhoff, over 2,000 people, all dedicated Final Fantasy fans. So it's really kind of an awesome thing. It's like everyone's coming home together, and partying together just to hear the music of Final Fantasy. And I find these very exciting concerts. The audience is like no other.
Now, is this a nice dress attire, or do you usually see one or two doing cosplay?
Oh, we definitely see some cosplay, and love that. I would say, it varies, but it could be anywhere from 5% of the audience to maybe as much as 20%, maybe 30% of the audience comes in cosplay. Most of the time, I would say it's 90% of them. There's a concept out there that you're going to a symphony orchestra concert, and it's kind of almost a quaint old world style that they feel that they have to get dressed up. So we have people coming looking fairly smart. In other words, it's not a lot of cut-offs or jeans or anything like that. They're smart, casual, or light. I don't know what the proper fashion term is, but they're fairly well dressed, and there's plenty of people coming in shirts and ties and coats and things like that, which is not. If you go to normal classical concerts, subscription concerts, you'll find a wide variety of dress these days. You'll find people in shirt sleeves. You'll find people more dressed up on a Saturday night for an opera opening. And if it's a grand opening of something, then you'll probably find tuxedo and black bow tie. But at our Final Fantasy concerts, you see the entire gamut. People that are much more dressed up and people that are casual.
I'm just wondering because I don't want to end up having me being all decked out in nice clothes, nice suit jacket, nice pants, nice tie. I got to end up sitting next to Sephiroth. I'll be like, "Hey, move that one wing, you angel! Go ahead, move it!" Yeah, because they'll just put the sword through my chest. I'll be like, "Ah."
Yeah,
because you got to watch some of these Final Fantasy cosplayers. They are wily. They are ornery, and they will get you.
I hear you, but I got to tell you that in the concerts, it's a big love fest, I got to tell you. Everyone wants to hear these scores. As a matter of fact, you can hear a pin drop during the performance of the pieces. But as soon as they're finished, or every time I, on microphone, announce what we're playing next, huge roar from the crowd. So it's a wonderful, wonderful hybrid audience. It's not pop or rock, and it's not classical. It's this hybrid in-between, which is fantastic, really great.
It's definitely not wop baba loo wop.
No, not that either.
Okay. You've also got a son and daughter who are involved in music, and your son, Eric Roth, is also a famed conductor.
Yes, a conductor, but he's also a composer and writer, and he has a Ph.D. in music composition. And I must tell you that he's written significantly some of the arrangements that we're doing as well. For instance, Genova from Final Fantasy VII. He was very involved with that arrangement, and he's written a bunch of these that he's helped me with. So he's actually a force to be reckoned with, and he's working full-time here at AWR Music as well.
So it would seem that this is becoming a father and son business. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, or for Final Fantasy fans, the one Final Fantasy reference doesn't fall too far from the other Final Fantasy reference. I don't know. I'm just insert a Final Fantasy reference here somewhere. I don't know.
Sure, why not?
But it's so cool that you can also share this with your son.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, for me, obviously, it's a great joy. It's a lot of fun, and especially to see what he comes up with on these arrangements. That's the most eye-opening thing to see. When you write an arrangement of these pieces, you're getting a glimpse into the mind of the arranger and seeing what direction he's taking this. And we try at Distant Worlds to be very close and faithful to the way it was first presented in the game, as opposed to kind of a wide, sweeping fantasy that's only loosely based on the music. In our case, we try to stay very close, but there's always opportunities in there, and it's really a delight to see, hey, that was a cool idea that he was thinking of and that Eric introduced into that score. So, that's really wonderful to see that.
Now, for the Distant Worlds concert, are there any spots in the entire performance that are just like the highlights of the show? Are there any favorite songs of yours? Or is there one they should be watching out for? It's going to be like, wow, this is going to blow you right out of the orchestra hall?
Well, let's talk about Baltimore particularly, because these are the things that you'll hear on that concert. The most gorgeous way to open these concerts is to begin with what they call the prelude music, which is, kind of your startup music for all the Final Fantasy games, that wonderful harp arpeggio kind of thing that happens. And we have a wonderful arrangement, and we're starting the concert in Baltimore with the prelude. And Liberi Vitali is on there, one of the really great pieces. Anything that's going to blow you away, I would say the ones that always blow me away, we have a new arrangement that I wrote on for Clash on the Big Bridge from Final Fantasy V. That's a big, exciting one. Most fans really love our Chocobo medley because it involves Swing to Chocobo, and it's such a beloved character, so they're pretty into that. Terra's theme is a big popular one. I don't know, I could keep going on here. The opening bombing mission from Final Fantasy VII, the opera, Marian Draco. Xanarkand is from 10 is a very, very popular piece. So all of these are highlights. I think you'll hear something from just about every single piece, or rather every single version of Final Fantasy from 1 all the way through 14.
Have you ever thought of doing a composition for the Otherworld, the "Do you on it da 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 dun defeat you"? I would just like it's from Final Fantasy X. I would love to see an orchestration rate for that. I mean, it'd probably be a car wreck, but it would be unique.
Not necessarily, no. That's a cool one. All right, I'm writing it down. I'll keep it filed.
It's Otherworld.
Yeah, Otherworld. Absolutely, we got it. We'll look into that.
Okay, well, we're getting ready to wrap this up now. So it's Distant Worlds. It's next Saturday, 7:30. Right, 30. Let me pull up the information. And tickets are still available, right?
Yes, they're going fast, but there are still tickets available and good ones too.
Oh! I'm looking right now. I mean, of course I get mine for free because I'm on Bearcast, and that's
You're special.
What. Yeah, I'm special. I rock that special. Yush. Now I'm looking here. Let me make sure I want to get everything right. It's the Meyerhoff Symphony Hall, 7:30 next Saturday, July 30th. Tickets starting at $38. They've got special $150 meet and greet tickets, including premium seating, plus a post-concert autograph session and photo opportunity with Nobuo Uematsu and yourself.
Yes, it's true. I'm not sure if those are sold out yet, but if they're not, they ought to hurry up and grab those.
They better. I would. Arnie, I'm going to say this again. This looks like a really, really good show. I'm looking at the program now. You've got some of the greatest music ever assembled. I mean, we've got, for the prelude, the main theme, Swing to Chocobo, prelude, the victory theme, Final Fantasy 1 through 3, you got the melody. From 4, the theme of love. From 5, Dear Friends. 6, Dancing Mad, Marian Draco, Terra's
Wait,
theme.
what are you looking at?
I'm looking at the program.
You're looking at our total master list of repertoire, just so we're not confusing the audiences, because we're not doing Dancing Mad on Baltimore, just so you know. Okay?
Well, we'll be dancing mad in the streets.
Absolutely, we will.
Dancing Mad.
Yeah, but you're right. We've got a fantastic selection of music. No, I agree with you. 2
hours.
Yeah.
2 hours. I don't think all this awesomeness and epicness could be fit into a 2-hour little area.
It's not really possible. And so what happens is we end up doing like 2 or 3 nights in a row in a lot of places. We just did that in Chicago, where we did 2 separate concerts. And that's not even enough time. So maybe one day we'll do a whole week of concerts.
Yeah, but sadly, for next Saturday, it is a one night only.
Right.
Go big or go home. Distant Worlds concert, July 30th, 2011. It's going to be wow, and we're going to be there to cover every aspect of it. We're going to give you a review of it. We're going to get audience reviews of it. You know, it's going to be, we're going to plug the ever-living crap out of this. I mean, just because you got Arnie Roth already, and he's a Grammy Award-winning musician and conductor, I mean, I don't know how much more plugging you can get.
I agree.
I mean, you got Arnie Roth, you got Nobuo Uematsu, you've got music that changed video gaming as we know it. Final Fantasy, it's as classic as, you know, biscuits and gravy, Pepsi and Coke, gasoline and propane. It's one of those things that are etched into the minds of video game fans for many generations. And I, personally, Arnie, I do not know who in the world would want to miss something like this.
And I will see you there.
Yeah, I will see you there. Mr. Roth, thank you so much. This is truly an honor to talk with someone of your caliber, and hopefully we'll have you back on in the near future so you can tell us about, you know, going to Korea, going to London, going back to Toronto. It seems like you're going all over the world with this concert.
I'd love to come back on. Let's set that up for afterwards.
Fantastic. Mr. Roth, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And this is the Dennis Daniels Show. We're on the road to Otakon. We're getting ready to hit it next week, and we're taking no prisoners. Until next time, this is Dennis Daniels saying, good night, Titus.